Under the harsh midday sun, the heat shimmered off the tarmac like a threat. Camp Redstone's flight line sprawled wide and cracked, edged in sand and silence, the kind of silence that came from long hours, dust in the teeth, and orders no one questioned anymore. She stepped out of the shade cast by a fuel bladder. Duffel slung over one shoulder, boots caked with older wars. Her fatigues were regulation, but blank. No patches, no name tape. Windbreaker zipped halfway against the dust, not the heat. Her eyes scanned the line of Blackhawks warming on the far end, rotor blades beginning to tick over in slow rhythm. Dust moved sideways beneath them. Two airmen in flak vests and clean boots stood beside the manifest station. Clipboard in hand, sidearms low on the thigh, fresh haircuts. Tension under the surface, the kind that comes from watching but not seeing. She walked up slow, no rush, no hesitation. Afternoon, Staff Sergeant Elena Ruiz. Hoping to catch a seat north on the medevac run. The one with the clipboard looked up briefly. 20, maybe, baby-faced. He didn't even process her name before answering. Manifests locked. No walk-ons. I understand. This is a medical response. Someone requested me directly. The second guard didn't even look at her. Orders are orders. Try again tomorrow. Maybe. She gave a single nod. Nothing more. No argument, no pleading. Just turned and stepped away. Behind her, the rotors picked up speed, biting into the air. She found a spot near the edge of the line. Half shadow from a rusted JP-8 drum. Sat on it like she'd done it 100 times before. Because she had. The metal burned through the back of her uniform, but she didn't flinch. The duffel sat at her feet, zipper closed, gear tight. Her back stayed straight. She watched. Convoy trucks rumbled in from the perimeter road, grumbling low. Generators hummed like distant thunder. The flight line shifted in its own rhythm. Mechanics moved in practiced choreography. Crews checked straps, fuel lines, avionics. Somewhere, someone laughed. It didn't reach her. Two soldiers, crisp and loud, strolled past the manifest table. Patches from 82nd Airborne, overconfident. Their conversation was loud enough to cut through the engine noise. Look at her. Bet she's never been outside a talk. Probably admin. Trying to hitch a ride for the story, they both laughed. One gestured like she wasn't sitting 10 feet away, like she didn't exist. Her hand tightened around the strap of the duffel, just slightly, barely enough to notice. Her face stayed blank, eyes forward. A medic stepped out of a hangar with a clipboard, didn't look her way. No one did. She was background, unaccounted for. The Blackhawk on pad 3 spooled up, blades cutting the heat, kicking grit in a wide halo. She watched the crew chief give the final hand signal. Doors closed. Dust rose. She didn't move. Inside her boot, a worn coin pressed against her ankle. She didn't reach for it, didn't need to. A heat mirage curled above the tarmac. Time passed. Somewhere behind her, a lieutenant barked at a private about eye protection. A fuel truck hissed. Another bird lifted off. She sat still. She had waited in worse places, for better reasons. She waited. The call came just after 22:30, no ringtone. Just a vibration through the hardened handset she kept in a sealed Pelican. Case under her bed, no one should have been able to reach it. Not anymore. She was already awake. The cot hadn't felt right. Camp cots never did. Concrete walls, bleach and coffee in the air. Standard military barracks, stripped of insignia, temporary housing. She kept it that way. She flipped the case open, glanced once at the scrambled line code blinking green, still valid, somehow. She answered without a word. There was static. Then a voice she hadn't heard in years. Staff Sergeant? This is Harrelson. Toby Harrelson. She remembered the name. Quick hands, curious eyes. Ohio. Her Class 3 rotations ago. Combat medic training out of Fort Sam. He asked questions most didn't. He stayed late. Didn't brag. He kept talking, but his words cracked at the edges. She heard pain behind the calm. Took shrapnel in the leg. Sweep went sideways. Medics patched me, but there's talk of infection. Internal damage. Complications. I don't get all the jargon, but I'm scared, ma'am. He was trying to stay formal, trying to stay upright. They say I might lose the leg. They're moving me. but the surgeons swamped. I didn't know who else to call. I know it's not protocol, and you're probably, where are you? Silence. Then coordinates. Field hospital northeast of the AO, operating out of canvas and aluminum. Short staff, high rotation. The kind of place that always ran 2 people short and 12 hours late. He hesitated again. I know it's not official. I know you're not on any active list, but if you could, I'm coming. She didn't say more. He didn't ask more. He wouldn't. The line cut. Not even a goodbye. Just quiet. By 22:38, she was already dressing. The room was dark. She didn't turn on the light. Didn't need it. She moved fast, not rushed, calculated. A routine built over 2 decades of going where no one else was cleared to go. Her trauma kit came first, modified, compact, medications she trusted. Tools she'd tested, blood stop powder, portable suction, field analgesics. A hand-sealed set of sterile tools, not all of it standard, most of it not. She laid out each item in order before slipping them into the duffel. It looked like nothing from the outside. On the inside, it could keep a man breathing through a helicopter ride and 2 gunfights. She paused once, reached into the corner of the bag, pulled out the coin. Silver, worn, smooth edges, phoenix etched deep, curved blade beneath it. No name, no rank, no story. She dropped it in the side pocket. Next came the brace, lightweight, carbon weave, custom fit for her left shin. The shrapnel from Mosul hadn't been gentle. The VA had given her the standard issue, but she tossed it a week in. Built her own, piece by piece. Now it slid on like muscle memory. By 22:52, she was at the perimeter fence, clearing with the night duty MP. He didn't ask much, just nodded at her ID, scanned it, and waved her through. It still carried a clearance level that made some people nervous. No one had told the scanners it was expired. She walked across the compound. Dust rose beneath her boots, one hand on the strap of the duffel. The desert smelled like oil and tired engines. The generators hummed low. Helicopter blades chopped the night in slow rotation. Waiting for morning orders, no one saw her go. No one asked where she was heading. She didn't look back. The light in the room was dim, artificial. Fluorescent tubes humming above cinder block walls, 0410, just enough time. Elena stood barefoot on cold tile, one hand on the edge of the cot for balance. Her gear was laid out already. It had been since last night. She hadn't unpacked. She started with the brace. It was black carbon, shaped to match the curve of her left shin, lightweight. Custom tension bands along the knee. She rolled the sleeve, fitted the brace, adjusted each Velcro strap until it was tight, but not blood-cutting. She flexed once. Good. No hitch. Pants next. Standard issue tactical. Reinforced knees. She tucked them over the brace, seamless. Like it wasn't even there. Her boots were worn but oiled, soles intact. She laced them tight, double-knotted, stood, tested weight, no lean. Next undershirt, windbreaker, plate carrier. She didn't need the carrier, but muscle memory insisted. She wore it light. No plates, just weight distribution. The trauma kit came out of the closet last. Zippered clamshell, desert tan reinforced seams. Inside, every pouch had a purpose, 2 of everything that mattered. Tourniquets, chest seals, airway tubes, crick kit, auto-injectors, IV lines. Morphine, ketamine, antibiotics, labeled in shorthand. She didn't use the Army's layout. Hers was faster. She unzipped each compartment, checked inventory without pausing. Nothing missing. Nothing expired. Gauze still vacuum sealed. Needles sharp. She slid the kit into the bottom of the duffel, snug against the spine. Balanced. Next went the diagnostics pouch. Then secondary dressings. Personal medevac on top. If she needed to access it mid-movement, it would be there. In the side pouch, she slid in trauma shears and a single pressure dressing marked with red tape. Marked gear was priority gear. She zipped the bag 3/4 closed. She stepped once to the wall locker, reached inside, pulled the small tin box from behind a pair of rolled socks. Inside, cushioned in foam, was the coin, silver, dulled by years. Etching still clean. A black phoenix, no letters, no country, just symbol. She turned it once in her fingers. No pause, no look. It disappeared into her boot. Right side. She didn't carry it for luck. At 04:23, she swung the duffel over one shoulder. Nothing else in the room moved. The cot remained untouched, the sink dry. The mirror above it cracked along one edge. Her reflection blinked. Once. She stepped into the hall, boots silent on concrete. Out past the barracks, the sky was shifting, dark blue to gray. The horizon thin. Rotor blades somewhere in the distance thudded into life. A generator coughed awake. She walked toward the flight line. Not fast. Not slow. Balanced. Every step planned. Behind her, the door clicked shut. She didn't lock it. There was nothing left inside. The sun was fully up now. Bright. Harsh. Wind pushed dust in thin layers across the tarmac. Heat shimmered above the rotors of the Blackhawk warming 30 yards away. Elena stood near the fence, hands resting on the edge of her duffel. Still waiting. She hadn't moved in 20 minutes. The two airmen guarding the manifest gate had stopped looking at her. They were talking now, low voices, laughing about something that didn't matter. She watched the bird. Then, without a word, she reached up and slid off her windbreaker. No motion wasted, no flourish, just heat, just enough to justify the act. Underneath, she wore the standard undershirt, faded at the collar. On her left bicep, barely visible in the morning light, was a patch. Velcro-backed, charcoal gray, flat, a bird, not an eagle, a phoenix. Wings flared, curved blade arched beneath it. No text, no border, no country. She didn't adjust it, didn't acknowledge it. She just stood, one hand resting on the top of the bag. Windbreaker folded once and tucked under her arm. Across the tarmac, a crew chief moved between helicopters. Staff sergeant, grease-stained coveralls, headset half on. Checklist in one hand. He was mid-step when he saw her. He stopped. Not a stumble, not hesitation. Stopped. He stared, blinked once, focused. His gaze moved from her face to the patch, then back. He didn't say anything, didn't call attention to it, but his body changed. Posture tightened. Shoulders back, chin down, like he'd just seen a general and wasn't sure whether to salute. He turned, slowly, and continued walking. But now his movements had a new pace, measured, deliberate. She saw it. She didn't react. Near the gate, one of the younger soldiers scratched his head. The other adjusted his plate carrier. Neither looked her way. But something had shifted. Another Blackhawk started spinning up further down the line. The wop-wop-wop of rotor wash building against the hangars. The crew chief came back through 10 minutes later. He didn't speak. But his eyes found her again. Not curiosity, not confusion, recognition. Like he'd heard the stories, maybe didn't believe them. Until now. Elena remained still. The wind picked up slightly. Her shirt tugged loose from one edge, giving a clearer view of the patch. A second tech, maybe 25, walked by with a fuel hose. He saw the patch, slowed, looked again, then looked away fast, like he wasn't supposed to. No one said her name. No one asked who she was. But on the tarmac, the temperature had changed. Not the heat, the respect. Colonel David Rohr stepped out of the operations tent with a thermos in one hand and a clipboard in the other. The sun hit the metal roofs, reflected into his eyes. He didn't flinch. He was in his late 50s, still built like someone who did his own push-ups. His uniform was plain but crisp, no show, no slack. His boots hit the pavement with steady rhythm as he scanned the flight line. Beside him, the XO talked about supply routes and personnel swaps. Region 5 rotation, inbound at 17:00. Manifest needed confirmation. Rohr nodded, once, but he wasn't listening anymore. His eyes had caught something. A figure near the edge of the flight line. Not in uniform, not out of it either. Standing still, watching the aircraft like she'd built them. At first, nothing registered. Just posture. Then he saw the patch. He stopped walking. The XO took another 2 steps before realizing, turned back. Sir Rohr didn't answer. His eyes were fixed. He stepped away from the conversation. Every line in his face drawn tighter. Not alarm. Recognition. 6 feet from her. He stopped. She turned slightly. Not a full pivot, just enough to show she knew he was coming. He looked at the patch, looked at her. Iron Nomad. Her answer came low. Flat. Long time ago. The colonel's jaw tightened. Not in anger. Not in confusion, just gravity. You're not on the manifest. No. Why not? Didn't ask to be. Just trying to get north. Someone needs help. That was enough. He turned, walked straight to the gate guards. Neither had noticed him coming. By the time they stood at attention, he was already in front of them. His voice was quiet, words fast, not rushed. You have one add-on. She flies. I don't care what the list says. Sir, we were told I'm telling you now. He didn't raise his voice. But both guards were already erasing names on the clipboard, flipping pages, clearing space. The crew chief who'd seen the patch earlier jogged over. Ma'am, he said, you're with us. Elena nodded once, picked up her duffel, moved toward the helicopter. The guard stood straighter. The XO looked confused, but didn't ask. As she passed the soldiers who'd mocked her earlier, they went quiet. One leaned to the other. Who the hell is she? The other shook his head. Voice low. No idea, but the colonel just cleared her by name. At the ramp, Roar stood waiting. He didn't speak. He saluted. Not casually. A full, respectful, regulation salute. She returned it, sharp, unblinking. Then she stepped into the bird. No words, no noise. Behind her, the flight line had changed. People didn't move around her anymore. They moved because of her. The Black Hawk lifted slow. Skids flexed, then separated from the tarmac with a heavy breath of dust. The vibration came up through the floor first, then settled into the ribs. Familiar rhythm. Hydraulic systems hissed once. Cabin sealed. Elena sat 2 seats in from the bay door. Back straight, shoulders square, harness across her chest. She hadn't spoken since boarding. Didn't need to. Across from her, a young corpsman adjusted his gear. Late 20s. New boots. Nervous eyes. He kept glancing toward her arm. Toward the patch. She didn't meet his stare. Didn't acknowledge it. Just buckled in. Double-checked the clips. Left hand touched the trauma kit at her feet. Quick tap. Mental inventory. To her left, 2 infantrymen, maybe replacement crew, sat quieter than expected. One fiddled with a helmet strap, gaze low. The other watched the ramp, boots planted wide, trying not to fidget. No one used names. The crew chief moved down the center line once. Eye contact only. He gave a tight nod in her direction. She nodded back. Rotor noise settled into that steady beat. Whup, whup, whup. Not loud enough to drown thought, but enough to keep it internal. No one filled the silence. She scanned the interior. Web seating secured. Exits clear. First aid kit marked in red above the portside bulkhead. Cargo straps locked, ramp lever within reach, all as expected. Through the port window, sun glared off the horizon. Desert. Endless. The corpsman leaned a little closer, didn't speak, just looked again. At the patch, at the bird, at her. She adjusted the strap across her lap. He opened his mouth once, closed it. Smart kid. The rest of the flight was still. No one made noise they didn't need to. The usual jokes, the edge chatter didn't come. Reputation didn't travel on paperwork. It moved faster than radio signals. Faster than the bird. They didn't know her name. They knew enough. The helicopter touched down in a short arc, nose slightly dipped. Rotors biting the air hard. Dust blew across the triage zone, covering cots, tents, and movement. Elena stepped off before the skids fully settled. No rush in her stride. Just direction. Duffel in one hand, shoulders square. The forward aid station looked built in a hurry. Camouflage netting thrown over aluminum supports. Generator buzzing too loud. Blood-stained bandages stacked in plastic bins. Medics moved fast, but not clean. She walked through without a word. No one stopped her. Toby was on a low cot near the outer edge. Camouflage flap tied back above him, no shade inside. His leg wrapped in loose gauze, dark red soaking through. Too much, too fast. His skin had gone pale, breathing shallow, a tremor in his left hand. She dropped to one knee, pulled the trauma kit up beside her. Toby turned his head. Ma'am, not fear now. Relief. Like she was a door that had just opened. She didn't answer. Her hands moved fast, straight to the wound, unwrapped once. Eyes locked on tissue color, blood flow. Peripheral pulse weak. Vitals spiraling. Medics nearby were watching. One, older, clipboard in hand, stepped forward. You can't be in here. I need to see orders. ID. She didn't look up. I need saline. 2 liters. Type O neg, if you've got it. Gauze. A tourniquet, wideband. If you're not out. Ma'am, I said I need to see ID. You can't treat him unless you can either help me save his leg, or explain to his mother why you let him bleed out while asking for paperwork. She didn't raise her voice, didn't pause, just locked eyes with the medic. He blinked. Once. What do you need? She pointed. You. Pressure here. You. Monitor respiration. If he dips below 12 per minute, tell me. You. Draw morphine, no more than 2. They moved. Her gloves were already on. She cleaned the site, blood slick, heat rising off the skin. Tourniquet applied. Bleeding slowed. Still too fast. She opened her kit. Pulled out the bone needle. Tibial IO access, no hesitation. 1 push, 1 pop. Into the marrow. He jerked. Once. She held the leg steady. Hooked the line. Fluid ran. Pulse came up. She reached into the bag again. Pressure wrap. Triple seal. Compound antibiotic foam. She packed the wound, wrapped it fast, clipped in place. He was breathing better now. The other medics didn't speak. They just handed her what she asked for. No one said she was in charge. She worked without pause. One hand on the wound, the other pulling tools. Her fingertips pressed near the femoral artery. Checked for pulse. Still there. Weak, but present. She sliced the rest of the dressing away. Scalpel. Straight edge. No hesitation. What remained underneath was worse than expected. Deep tissue torn. Shrapnel entry not clean. Jagged. Angled. Secondary swelling. Forceps. Light pressure. Pulled the first metal shard. Dropped into the tray. A second. Smaller. Closer to bone. Blood welled with each movement. Gauze down. Absorption. Pressure. Release. Repeat. The corpsman kept pace. Holding suction. Eyes wide but steady. Another medic clipped vitals to Toby's arm. BP rising. Breaths shallower. She adjusted saline. Dropped rate. Switched to internal thermals. She didn't speak. Each tool went back where it belonged. No wasted reach. Every step part of the same muscle memory. She injected a localized numbing agent near the wound site. Toby flinched once, then still. Third piece of shrapnel came out in 2 segments, deep. She stitched the muscle quickly. Clean lines. Internal first. Surface second. No conversation. Outside the tent. A helicopter lifted. Wind pushed in under the flap. She didn't blink. She checked for bleeding. None. Sealed the dressing. Taped down edges. Checked temperature. Reflex. Skin tone. Oxygen flow. She stood. Removed gloves. He was breathing normal now. Slow. Steady. First full sleep since injury. She stepped back. Rotated her shoulders once. Tightness across the left blade. Normal. The medics stood silent around her. Clipboard down. No notes taken. One of them finally asked, "Where'd you learn to do that?" She looked at the wound, then at the tray. Tools clean, nothing left on the floor. Experience. He hesitated. And she turned toward the cot. Caring. Then walked past them. Toward the sunlight outside, not waiting for thanks, not needing it. The blood had stopped. That was enough. The heat was softer now. Afternoon fading. The angle of the light low, casting long shadows across the aid station's canvas walls. Toby slept without twitching, breathing smooth. His chest rose and fell in rhythm, no longer forced. Color had returned to his face. The tremor in his hand was gone. Elena stood beside him, arms crossed. She didn't smile. Just watched for a few seconds longer. Then she picked up the trauma kit. Zipped it shut. Footsteps behind her. Colonel roar. He didn't interrupt. Just waited until she turned. He didn't ask for a report. He didn't question her present. He just nodded. How is he stable? He exhaled through his nose. Not relief. Confirmation. You're cleared south. Bird lifts in 10. We'll take it from here. She nodded. Once. No wasted motion. Outside. The helicopter waited. A different crew. Different rotation. But they recognized her, even if they didn't know why. She boarded without a word. This time, no one questioned her seat. The harness was already down. The crew chief met her at the ramp. Respect in his eyes. No salute. Just understanding. The interior felt colder. Cleaner. Gear tied down tight. No patience. Just movement. Evac rotation. Personnel reposition. She took her seat near the port wall. Stowed her kit underfoot. Leaned back. The medic from earlier was across the aisle. Same eyes. Same questions. He hadn't spoken until now. The blades started their slow build. Pressure against the frame. He leaned in. Voice low. Not intrusive. Do you miss it? She didn't answer right away. Watch the crew chief give hand signals. Watch the pilot thumb the comms. Outside, the air shimmered with heat and fuel. She turned to him just before liftoff. It never stopped. Pause. Just got quieter. The helicopter lifted. Tires left dirt. The desert fell away beneath them. She didn't look back. The rotor noise filled the cabin. No more words. She sat still. Boots braced. Shoulders square. One hand rested on the duffel. She faded into the sound. Into the dust. Into a story no one would write, but no one would forget.